Popper is ruined. Look at this. Cranial Ram, that card is a common. It's literally cranial plating. Didn't all that glitters just get banned 1 month ago? Popper is ruined by Modern Horizons forever again. What was Wizards of the Coast thinking, and why don't they take better action to protect this format? I'm getting a text message on my cellular phone.
We are banning
What's
Cranial
this?
Ram and
They
Popper.
banned Cranial Ram Day Zero? Preemptively protecting the Popper format? Not allowing the card to run away and destroy everything? This is an outrage. I didn't even get a chance to play with it. Why wouldn't they at least give us a few weeks to enjoy the card? This is Lutri all over again, but in Popper. In this video, I'm going to talk about how this card probably wasn't even a problem. How would we know it was a problem? Thanks, Popper format panel. Ha 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 ha. During the last Popper BNR update, before Modern Horizons 3 preview season was in full swing, Gavin Verhey told us there was a common coming in the set that was likely to be problematic in Popper. He said that the card would have a short leash, and that he and the rest of the Popper format panel would work diligently to ensure that neither this card nor any other card from Modern Horizons 3 would break Popper for too long. When Cranial Ram was previewed, Gavin then confirmed that this was indeed the card that he was referring to. He also polled the community to see whether Popper players wanted to give the card a shot, or if the card should be pre-banned before the set even released. Less than 2 weeks later, we have the answer, as the Popper format panel decided to pre-ban the card, citing both its similarity to cranial plating and all that glitters, and its likelihood to warp the format ahead of two major Popper tournaments in the coming month. But is Cranial Ram the only card in Modern Horizons 3 that is ban-worthy? In his initial foreshadowing of the Cranial Ram ban, Gavin specifically called out Shatterstorm as a card that broke Popper from the last Modern Horizons set. But the Squirrel Storm payoff was not the only broken card to enter Popper from a Modern Horizons set, nor even the only Modern Horizons Storm card. Arkham's Astrolabe, Galvanic Relay, and Sojourner's Companion all proved too strong for the format, and other cards like the Cycle of Bridges from Modern Horizons 2 currently live on the informal watch list. Even before Gavin told us a card like Cranial Ram was coming, it seemed inevitable that Modern Horizons 3 would contain at least one, and potentially multiple, cards that would be problematic in Popper, to say the least. Are there other cards in Modern Horizons 3 that are going to go the same way as Cranial Ram? Well, I've scoured all the commons from the set in search of which will have the most impact in the format, and I would like to present to you a list of 5 cards that might qualify, and one card in particular that I think is going to have a very heavy discussion over whether or not it should be banned in Popper. So Popper Magic the Gathering players beware. Make sure you take a long, hard look at your finances before you invest up to 50 cents on a playset of any one of the cards on this list. By the way, did you notice that I shaved? What do you think? Honestly, I can never decide. I was told by a lot of people that I looked really good when the beard came in, but I didn't really personally like it, and then I shaved it, and it's certainly more comfortable. I might grow it back out, but I know that I look good either way, both clean shaven and with a beard. It's just up to me to decide how I want to present myself to the world. It's the same with the hair on your head. If you've got long hair, which I do like to have my hair long, that's great. You're gorgeous and sexy, but so too is someone who is bald or balding. It's just about you and how you want to look. But what happens if you do want to look a certain way, such as having a head of hair, and Mother Nature has a different idea in store? Well, that's where Keeps, a subscription men's health brand for hair loss prevention and sponsor of this video, comes in. Whether you're looking to prevent hair loss, stimulate hair growth, or just take better care of the hair you have, Keeps has you covered with professional, scientifically proven care. Keeps offers personalized care and consultations to address your unique hair goals, all from the comfort of your own home. Simply complete an online consultation to get matched with a provider who will tailor a treatment plan that's specific to what you want your hair to look like. Keeps also offers hair thickening shampoo, conditioner, and styling pomade. These products work together to support healthy hair growth growth with natural, science-backed ingredients like biotin, green tea, and saw palmetto. Best of all, Keeps is affordable, significantly less than the competition, and name brand alternatives, all while offering treatments directly delivered to your door in discreet, non-branded packaging. So yeah, remember, you are beautiful no matter what you do and how you wish to present yourself, long hair or no. But if you are interested in trying out Keeps, then head over to keeps.com/Tolarian or just click the link in this video's description for a special offer to get started. Again, that's keeps.com/Tolarian. Hair loss stops with Keeps. Thank you, Keeps, for sponsoring this video. All right, first up, let's look at a sneaky little guy who could prove to be a real problem in tandem with a category of powerful cards that already see a lot of play in Pauper. It's Sneaky Snacker, a 2-mana, 2/1 flying fairy rogue in Dimir colors with built-in recursion. Whenever you draw your third card for turn, return Sneaky Snacker from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. At first glance, Sneaky Snacker might not look particularly problematic. After all, it can't be that easy to draw 3 cards in a turn all that often, right? Right? Wrong. First of all, on your turn, you only need to draw 2 extra cards in order to bring Sneaky Snacker back. A pair of cantrips will bring this back. A cantrip plus a Monarch trigger, or a Ninja of the Deep Hours hit brings this back. Muldrifter, Faithless Looting, Night's Whisper. Heck, Lorien Revealed extra brings it back. You can even return it at instant speed on your opponent's turn with a Brainstorm. Imagine sacrificing Sneaky Snacker to Deadly Dispute on your turn, drawing 2 cards, making a treasure token, and then returning Sneaky Snacker to the battlefield. Or sacrificing it to Reckoner's Bargain, or Fanatical Offering. Even beyond sacrificing it to the powerful sack and draw 2 cards already legal, in Pauper, there are a multitude of other ways in this format to get this card into your graveyard while doing something else beneficial. You can discard it to the aforementioned Faithless Looting, or mill it over with Thought Scour, or loot it away with a blood token. In a Reanimator deck, Sneaky Snacker can help you flash back Dread Return. In Dimir Fairies, it helps contribute to your Spell Stutter sprite count. Against any deck without exile removal, which is most decks in Pauper, this is a 2-power flying attacker or blocker that can never permanently die. Sure, it enters the battlefield tapped, but that's not even much of a downside. You could use this to block your opponent's Goblin Tomb Raider. No, not Laura Croft Tomb Raider. She's not common. Goblin Tomb Raider. Then, on their end of turn, cast Brainstorm to bring it back to block again next turn. Either way, it's best that you don't sleep on Sneaky Snacker, as that'd be a good way to lose your lunch. Next up, we have a powerful colorless removal spell that's perfect for dealing with a card like Sneaky Snacker permanently. Fanged Flames, also known as Obliterating Bolt, or Lava Coil if they had Devoid. Lava Coil has been legal in Pauper since Double Masters 2, but it doesn't see much play. That's because the card is worse than Galvanic Blast, and is really only useful for exiling a recursive threat, of which there aren't enough to justify the slot, and any that do exist can be dealt with via Relic of Progenitus. But Fanged Flames is significant because it is not red. It costs a red mana, but being devoid means red decks can play this card to help with problematic cards that can't be targeted by red spells. The most noteworthy example of this is Guardian of the Guild Pact, but Prismatic Strands can also leave a red deck's removal spells stranded, in hand. Do you get it? Yeah, you get it. Mono Red is currently one of the strongest decks in Pauper, with a smooth and painless mana base and a whopping 43 powerful 1-mana spells. Other decks tend to struggle to keep up with Mono Red's speed, but cards like Guardian of the Guild Pact and Prismatic Strands can be annoying roadblocks for the Mono Red deck to push through. Sneaky Snacker could also prove problematic for the deck, as boarding in Relic of Progenitus just to deal with Snacker is overkill. Fanged Flames being a nice and flexible answer to both recursive threats and cards that can't be targeted by red spells might just allow it to find a home in Pauper where Lava Coil could not. Now, don't get me wrong, Fanged Flames is not going to get banned in Pauper, but Giving a deck that's already a really, really good deck access to a card that can help shore up one of its weaknesses is the kind of thing that can push that already great deck over the top into ban-worthy territory, or at least ban-worthy discussion territory. And in a lot of ways, we're already there because Gavin said himself in his video about the Cranial Ram ban that Mono Red was a deck on the Pauper format panel's potential ban radar moving forward. So, yeah. Next up is another card that gets better when you draw cards. Okay, I guess almost every deck in the history of Magic in every format is going to get better when you draw cards, since drawing cards is one of the best things you can do in the game, but this one explicitly rewards you for drawing cards, and it's a great reward at that. Deem Inferior, quite possibly the best mono blue removal spell that Pauper has seen since Fall from Favor. Deem Inferior is a 4-mana blue sorcery that costs 1 generic mana less for each card you've drawn for turn. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it into their library, either second from the top or on the bottom. Consider, if you will, the card Oust. Many Magic the Gathering players don't realize the power level of this card. Oust is a very strong removal spell for just 1 mana. It's great to use on weaker creatures because your opponent drawing those weak creatures again is actively bad for them. And it's still good against stronger creatures because those creatures usually cost more mana, and dealing with them, even temporarily and at sorcery speed, is a great use of a single mana of your own, giving you time to find another answer later, or just kill your opponent. If Oust was Pauper legal, it would immediately become the strongest white removal spell in the format. Now consider Deem Inferior. Right off the bat, the card actually only costs 3 mana, because it's a sorcery, so when you're able to cast it, you'll have always drawn a card for turn already. But it's comically easy to make this card cost even less than that, for all the reasons I just shared with Sneaky Snacker. This card is the mono blue Oust, except it hits non-land permanents, doesn't have the life gain downside, and crucially, is a temporary answer to permanents in the color identity that gets counterspell. Deem Inferior is an absolute game changer for any blue deck, but especially mono blue decks that really lacked in good removal outside of Boomerang. It's also a way for Dimir decks to interact with non-creature permanents, something the color pair has really staggered with in the past. It's really hard to overstate just how good Deem Inferior will be in Pauper. And believe it or not, it's only number 3 on this list. That's a Modern Horizons set for you. Alright, we are down to the top 2 new cards for Pauper that are not immediately banned on day 0, and this next set, yes, I said set, of cards is absolutely crazy to now be a part of Pauper. What are they? Well, next on our list are the Cycle of 10 Triomes. Spara's Headquarters, Raffine's Tower, Rogrin Triome. Can you believe they added all of these to Pauper? Haha, just kidding. But can you imagine if they did? The Triomes would be way too good in Pauper, right? Well, next on our list is a cycle of powerful Tri-lands that can be cycled away for a fresh card whenever you are flooding out. Sound familiar? They're not the Triomes, but for Pauper, they're pretty powerful and pretty close when you think about it. The landscapes are some of the strongest multicolor lands Pauper has ever seen, and could even be good enough to make 3-color strategies far more viable than they've previously been. These lands are the kinds of lands that Evolving Wilds' partner, Ash Barrens, tells Evolving Wilds not to worry about. These lands can each fetch a tapped copy of one of 3 basic lands, but they can also just act as an untapped source of colorless mana when you need them too. And of course, they cycle for 1 mana of each color that the lands they can fetch produce. These are the perfect lands to have sit in play while waiting to set up a brainstorm, or fetch a tapped land on a turn you weren't going to use the mana anyway. For 3-color decks, tapped lands are at their worst late in the game, when you really need to be casting spells that will impact the board, and don't want to take a turn off of your curve. The Modern Horizons 3 landscapes solve that problem in a major way, acting as untapped mana sources for your high-cost, low-color requirement cards that often top a mana curve. Ash Barrens played a similar role in Pauper for a long time, though it made you choose whether you wanted an untapped colorless source or a land cycler. The landscapes don't. They can be a colorless source for as long as you need them to be, and then when you're ready, you can shuffle with them. And also, unlike ash barrens, they cycle when you're flooding. That last part really can't be stressed enough. Cycling as a backup is a really big deal in a format such as Pauper. Most 3-color decks in Pauper are really 2-color decks that are splashing for high impact sideboard cards. These cards are important enough in your matchups that they're worth making your mana significantly worse. There are of course exceptions such as Affinity, which is rewarded for playing a pile of bridges and has Chromatic Star and Treasure tokens to help supplement its mana, and of course Jeskai Ephemerate, which pairs the bridges with Cleansing Wildfire as a build-your-own rampant growth that cantrips and plays double duty as non-basic land hate. But now that these landscapes are legal in Pauper, they really have the potential to enable more truly 3-color decks. So while not quite common versions of the triomes, they are honestly not that far off, and are going to impact this format in ways that will be felt for years to come. Unless, of course, they get banned, but Gavin won't even ban the artifact lands, so yeah, you'll be seeing these for a long time. So far, while I think every card on this list is absolutely going to impact the Pauper format and see play, I don't really believe any one of them is likely to be banned anytime soon. But this next one, oh yes, it may not have a day 0 ban, but it's going to have a day 1 ban discussion. I genuinely think the number 1 card on this list is really number 2, underneath Cranial Ram, had it not been banned. And that card is... Coming in at the top of our list is Refurbished Familiar, a 2/1 flying zombie rat artifact creature with affinity for 3 generic and a black mana. When Refurbished Familiar enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. If they can't, you draw a card. Holy cow, is this card strong. A 2/1 flyer that makes your opponent discard a card is scary enough on its own, but the fact that it draws a card when your opponent can't discard a card means that it will be good at all phases of the game. Paired with flicker effects like Ephemerate or cards like Glint Hawk that can rebuy it, Refurbished Familiar is going to be incredibly punishing for your opponents. Anytime you're able to cast this for just 1 mana, which will be often, since that only requires having 3 artifacts in play, you are going to feel like you're cheating. But you're not cheating, this is legal. Well, for now. The card plays great in multiples, not just because of the draw if they can't discard clause, but because each familiar makes the next familiar cheaper. You could easily cast 2 of these on turn 2. Turn 1, play an untapped Vault of Whispers and cast Blood Fountain. And then voila! 3 artifacts in play. I can imagine this card inspiring a Mardu synthesizer shell with Glint Hawk and Core Skyfisher, either using the pairing of the bridges with Cleansing Wildfire, or just playing the Mardu landscape to help enable the 3-color mana base. It's also possible that the Glint Hawk deck just ditches red altogether, opting for a straight Orzhov deck to more consistently cast Refurbished Familiar early and often. I think this card is so powerful that many Pauper players are going to build new decks around it, though of course it has obvious homes in decks like Affinity, so either way, you can expect to see a lot of Refurbished Familiars in the coming months. And yes, Gavin himself called this card out as another card that the Pauper format panel has its eye on, and that's no surprise really, given that Affinity is a deck that literally is always problematic. But is Refurbished Familiar ban-worthy? Or will it possibly just be the card that finally gives Gavin and the Pauper format panel the excuse to ban those bridges out of the format forever? I'd be fine with that, because maybe then I could get my precious Atog back. Probably not, though. But a professor can dream of Atogs. A professor can dream. Be sure to let me know what you've picked for Pauper that did not appear on this list in the comments below. And remember that our Kickstarter for Season 3 of Shuffle Up and Play is ongoing. So if you'd like to know more, you can check out that video by clicking here or following the link in this video's description. And remember, you are gorgeous whether you have long hair or no hair, because you're gorgeous and awesome, and that's what true sexy is. But if you would like to have hair on your head and Mother Nature has another plan in store for you, then think of Keeps, because hair loss stops with Keeps. If you're interested in trying out Keeps, then head over to keeps.com/Tolarian or just click the link in this video description for a special offer to get started. Again, that's keeps.com/Tolarian. Hair loss stops with Keeps, and thank you, Keeps, for sponsoring this video.
on the season finale of Shuffle Up and Play.
We have brought our very first Commander decks.
My name is Kenji Egashira, better known as Numot the Nummy.
I'm Sam from Ristic Studies.
I'm Spice 8 Rack, and if I'm here, who's flying the plane? Who are you?
I already said it.
Oh,
Note to future editor, leave that part in. That's hilarious.
Draw that insurrection. Reveal a land tax.
my God.
I don't think I was a very fun player to play against back in the day.
You literally announce yourself as going to destroy all our lands before
all
playing.
that's fair.
Is there anything that I am scared of?
Are you scared of the future?
Oh, don't start this again. Bane of Progress.
No.
You got a crisp 20 to make me not pick that one?
No comments.
This is the first episode of Shuffle Up and Play where I'm not immediately targeted.
Well, thanks for reminding us.
Oh yeah, props here.
Get him!
Non-god gamers.